Welcome to the AI News Brief, Fast Takes on AI. This is AI Alicia with AiNews.com. Today's conversation with Dr. Geoffrey Hinton was recorded for AI News at Discovery X 2025 in Toronto by our friend Jim Harris, a best-selling author, journalist, and AI futurist. It's a brief but meaningful chat where Geoffrey Hinton shares his thoughts on the Nobel Prizes limitations in recognizing AI, why OpenAI moved faster than Google, and how AI tutors could reshape education. Let's take a listen.
So I'm here with Nobel laureate Geoffrey Hinton. Thank you so much for talking to AI News. One of the things I found was fascinating is that your recognition is in physics and Demis's recognition is in chemistry, and you're not a physicist and he's not a chemist. What does that say about interdisciplinary efforts going forward?
What it says is Alfred Nobel died a long time ago. He set up these prizes in the main branches of science.
At the time.
One for physics, one for chemistry, and one for physiology or medicine. And that doesn't keep up with where the progress is in science. So obviously right now, one of the major areas of progress in science is AI. And they wanted to recognize that. And so essentially, in Demis's case, it was fine because they really were doing chemistry.
Yes, protein
With
folding.
quite sophisticated AI managed to more or less solve the protein folding problem. In my case, it's weird. We developed various different learning algorithms. One of them, called the Boltzmann machine learning algorithm, did actually use some statistical physics. So it really was, physics was relevant there. It turned out that wasn't the one that really worked. And the one that really worked was backpropagation, which doesn't use any physics. But nevertheless, neural nets are actually very useful in some areas of physics. If you generate lots of data of protons hitting each other and want to see what's going on, you want to use AI to process that. So they had various excuses for saying it's physics. But it's relevant to physics, you use it in physics, some bits of it were inspired by physics, and anyway, it's an exciting new area, and so I think that's what happened. It's not entirely satisfactory. It'd be much better if they had a Nobel Prize in AI. But
Yes,
they
well,
don't.
you should write a note to them.
They don't like having Nobel Prizes in things that weren't in Nobel's work.
Yeah, it makes sense. One of the things I found interesting in an interview that I was at with Demis in Barcelona a year ago, he was asked, why is it that it was Google that created the transformer technology with their original white paper in 2017, and yet it was OpenAI that brought out ChatGPT? And his answer was very interesting, for me at least. It was that we have a perfectionist mentality in Google, or had one in Google, whereas Sam and his team have a minimum viable product philosophy and just get it out and iterate and improve it.
I don't think it was that at all.
Okay, that was his answer, but I'd love your insight on this.
I think it was because Google had a lot to lose by releasing a chatbot that spewed racist stuff. So Microsoft early on released a chatbot and had to withdraw it after a day or two because it spewed racist stuff. Google had a very good reputation and a very profitable search engine, and it didn't want to damage its reputation by things like that happening. So Google developed the technology. It had things comparable with ChatGPT. And so that was the main factor, that Google had a reputation it didn't want to lose. OpenAI didn't have to bother about that. The second thing was that people at OpenAI discovered that with a bit of human reinforcement learning, you could make it far less likely to say bad things. And it turned out it was remarkably little. Google never really investigated that, since for that other reason, Google never intended to release the chatbot itself. But it was a big surprise to everybody that only maybe 100,000 examples, or maybe less, with reinforcement learning, could make it far better behaved. They don't solve all the problems, but they make it releasable. So it was those two factors, I think.
If you were starting in AI at the start of your career right now, knowing what you know today, what would you advise yourself to do? This can be a direction for all the young people just going into university and making decisions about what they want to do in their careers going forward.
I think that getting advice from a very old white man who grew up in a completely different era would be a bad start.
Well, that's a good answer.
I would get advice from young people.
Okay. What are you most excited about the future? You've shared a lot of your concerns about the downsides of AI with the world, but what are you most excited about?
I think the uses of AI in medicine, in healthcare, and in education. I think we're going to get really good AI tutors. So a private tutor makes you learn about twice as fast as being in a classroom. And a really good AI tutor that's seen millions of people like you will know exactly what you misunderstand and exactly what example to give you so that you understand it properly. So I think you'll be able to learn things 3 or 4 times as fast with a really good AI tutor. And I think we'll get that within the next 10 years. We're already doing it to some extent. Already there's tutors in industry that help people be better managers and things that are useful.
I was recently with the chief product officer of OpenAI at a conference, and this was what he was most excited about. He was citing 100x better learning outcomes if you have an absolutely personalized tutor.
I think that's pushing it.
Well, he is with OpenAI.
3 or 4 would be fine.
This has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was a quick look into the mind of one of AI's most influential voices, Dr. Geoffrey Hinton. Huge thanks to Jim Harris for capturing that conversation on behalf of AiNews.com. If you enjoyed this, be sure to check out more of our interviews with AI leaders on YouTube and subscribe for future updates. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.